Welcome everyone to the Light and Lighting Design What I Actually Do, an event organized by the Nordic chapter of the International Association of Lighting Designers and kindly sponsored by Lutron. My name is Isabel Villar and I'm a professional member of the IALD and I will be your host today. Before we get started, we need to go through some house rules first. All microphones are automatically muted. However, you will be able to unmute your microphones during the networking session. We encourage you to use the chat function to post your questions, interact with other participants, and raise any technical issues you might encounter along the event. For your information, this session will be recorded and will be made available on the IALD YouTube channel. In case you don't feel comfortable with this, feel free to turn your cameras off. And last but not least, we highly encourage you to have fun. This event is part of IALD's mission to serve the worldwide membership by promoting the visible success of members in practicing architectural lighting design. IALD also serves the community through the Education Trust and Light Industry Research Council. LIRC exists to provide a framework within IALD for enhanced communication between professionals, lighting designers, and manufacturers. This event is part of the official calendar of activities of the UNESCO International Day of Light 2021 and also supports Women in Lighting 50/50 initiative. The theme of this event has been inspired by the meme, What People Think I Do versus What I Really Do, which presented in a PechaKucha format will give our speakers a unique opportunity to raise awareness of light and lighting design live, so not pre-recorded. After the PechaKucha, do not miss the networking session at around 6:30, where we will keep discussing this theme in smaller groups, and which will be followed by an open and live Q&A session started approximately 6:45. But before we get started with the first PechaKucha presentation, I'm very happy to introduce you to our sponsor Lutron. They invented the first light dimmer using electronic components 60 years ago. Since then, Lutron has grown into one of the world leaders in lighting and blind control. With multiple innovations, they'll be happy to show us at their European Experience Center in London. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Matt Thomas, Specification Leader for Lutron Europe, who will introduce our keynote speaker. Matt, the stage is yours. Are you with us, Matt? Matt, you have to unmute yourself.
Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. My internet connection's a little bit unstable today, so apologies if we have any more technical glitches. Sorry, yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah. Hello, guys. So thank you, Isabel. Sorry about that. Today, I'm very pleased to represent Lutron and join you for this event aimed at raising awareness of the importance of light and lighting design. To do so, the organizer put together this fantastic group of speakers. I'm very honored to introduce our keynote, the internationally renowned artist, Alexandra Stratimirovic. Alexandra is the author of temporary and permanent light art installations of numerous public spaces. Her artworks have been included in the exhibitions at Noor Riyadh, Guggenheim Museum, New York, and various institutions in more than 15 countries. Since 2018, she's been engaged as artistic director of Skopje Light Art District in Macedonia. Light's something that Alexandra has always been interested in and created her first public work with her sister's experimental theatre group when they were just teenagers. Brilliant. Alexandra will tell us more about her view of light as inspiration, as a tool, and as message. Welcome, Alexandra.
Hello, this is me, Corona Orionis, back in 90s. I'm one of the 4 female agents set on the important intergalactic mission to search for the formula that will solve all problems. We agents travel through the universe, teleporting ourselves from planet to planet, from asteroid to asteroid, and back, meeting unusual worlds, facing extreme dangers, and developing interplanetary collaborations. This was winter, or dreams, or traveling in different directions. Experimental theater show, directed by my sister, Lyudmila, for her theater company, The Hats Theater. Symbolically, journey to another dimension in those difficult times that we were facing at that time. It was years of war in Yugoslavia. We just finished university. At that point, no one of us even wondered what we do. We just were doing our mind-saving escape. With access to a small theater stage and very limited equipment, those were my first experiments with light. We used one video projector and some UV lights. Illustrations were made by great comic artist Alexandra Zograf, and original music composed and performed by our young musician friends. We played with the light, we played with the shadows, we played with our world, with the different planets, facing things, facing dangers, facing different worlds. And soon, a real life brought me to Sweden. In Motion was created in collaboration with choreographer Madeleine Carlson. This performance was another journey, a journey through Nordic landscape, also depicting life circle, from birth to different stages of light. All this performed using very few light sources, just 2 incandescent lights and 4 fluorescent tubes. And this is actually choreography created for light and supported by 2 dancers, young dancers, Matilda Bilberg and Jonathan Bringer. Dancers were supporting lights here, creating magic. This was my control system, not exactly Lutron level, I think, but it worked very well. Low tech and very low budget, but just what I needed and what I could handle. The whole technical set packed in one bag, and many meters of cables as well, also to handle myself. Here, another talk with lights, and happy to skip all cables. This was recently. I was invited by Island of Light Festival that is dedicated to create site-specific light installations for the 2nd edition of this event. This light festival is located in Smögen, which is a small village on these beautiful rocks on the west coast of Sweden. This beautiful landscape and fisherman village has a very long history, tightly connected to the sea. Walking around this beautiful place, meeting exciting people, I learned about this place. It's a great initiative called Marine Recycling Center, specialized for cleaning a sea bottom from the ghost nets and other stuff that is laying down on the sea bottom. Seeing all this amount of collected material that has been laying down and floating around, damaging sea, made me imagine the world under and what is happening under this sea surface. Like this Alex Raymond fantasy world that I loved when I was a kid, Flash Gordon and Dr. Zarkov's adventures with the sea people and Coralia civilization. So I decided to make a little civilization called Underworld to connect to this sea under and to the world under. I used this fisherman net that was collected from the sea to create a little settlement, Underworld, that looked like a small civilization, placed in Smögen with the lights, with the lighting and a special soundscape that was describing the world under, using the sounds of the sea and the urban sounds. Composition was made by the Argentinian musician Leonard Kaplan. Andrew will travel then to the mountains of Austria in this beautiful forest, creating another kind of settlement, and to the Skopje Light Art District, welcoming people in the big Skopje city park. He traveled also to Ljubljana, located by the river Ljubljanica. I used to work also with the children, organizing workshops, playing with light, talking about light. It's very inspiring for me to create these things together with kids. With these wide open eyes and free imagination, children are a great inspiration. These were pictures from Belgrade with kids we organized for many, many years in an event, Belgrade of Light workshops, creating different projects together. This is a picture of Belgrade, where I originally come from. And this is a picture from 2000 something, right after the period of darkness, literally, when the war slowed down and the darkness of the city was so obvious. And then suddenly it got interrupted by commercial lights that popped up like mushrooms. And those were elements that inspired me to think what these messages really mean. Mostly they were about casinos, big cars, jewelry. And then my friend Federico Faber, a lighting designer, and me decided to collect thoughts from these kids and translate them into light messages and place them also in commercial parts of the city and to see what these messages would say. These messages were with a different content, saying much more deeper things and more philosophical things about life. My light future was shown in Belgrade, was integrated in the streets of Bologna in Italy, we collaborated with kids in Tirana in Albania, placing the children's light thoughts in a cityscape. This is image from Tirana asking, is this future? This is a very inspiring project, and I have a great collection of luminous thoughts and visions about life and future, about light and about darkness. A permanent project with the same kind of base, it's You Are the Dream. It has a character of light signs. It's created for this specific place, suburban residential area in Gothenburg. And this is like a crown above this garage place saying, you are the dream, you are the longing, you are the gold, you're great, you're beautiful, you're strong, you're the thought, you're proud, you're hope, you're wise, you're free. For anyone in the neighborhood to recognize themselves in. The latest one, permanent also work, is called Guidance, a light text for 3 pedestrian tunnels in another suburban area, this time in Stockholm, in Sweden. Area it's called Haninge. And these texts say, do you have plans for the future? I will play in the future. I will go somewhere else. All will be good. Heroes save the world, like this one. And my favorite color is rainbow. The latest pedestrian tunnel is in a little town called Borlänge, also in Sweden. This is a poetry impulse. It's a collection of phrases told by local children that I put together into the light poem. It's a robust stainless steel piece with beautiful thoughts, combination of different languages also. This is a sketch for another permanent project that I presented for a school in Stockholm called Heroes. It's a vibrant and playful light installation related to children, again, because it is a place of children, the heroes of the school. Dynamic installation in constant fluctuation. It changes from face to face with the transition that is a bit more dynamic. Consists of 500 dots that show portraits of children. It's placed in the foyer of the school by the main entrance. Every project is a new adventure for me, and every project is equally interesting, big or small. Some years ago, I got involved in a very exciting project in Paris to create monumental light art installation to celebrate royal Swedish visit to France. I had a very short time to realize this project and come with the idea what to do. And my wish was to create a bit of northern atmosphere in the beautiful surroundings of Palais Real Gardens. And inspired by the most spectacular and poetic natural phenomenon that occurs in the skies of Northern Hemisphere, I created my version of Aurora Borealis. This is the test we did in the hangars around Paris. A little glamour, a few minutes of a glamour from that project is the presence of Swedish Queen, who inaugurated Northern Lights by pushing the red button here in front of us. And in this moment, I could maybe ask myself, what do I do? Standing there waiting to get this button pressed and to see if installation is really working as I imagined, or we did some small mistake after 13 hours of programming in the night. But this turned out to be very nice work. I'm happy with my Aurora Borealis. Northern Lights travel around the world sometimes, especially to places where Aurora Borealis would never appear in a natural form. Jerusalem, London, Paris, Riyadh. So what do I actually do? I could ask myself, and I do ask myself too. I do a lot of different things. Most of them somehow connected to light, to shadow, to darkness, to journeys, and of course to many fantasy worlds. I don't have time to ask myself during my projects, but in between projects, I think I would like to find the words to formulate what I do. And this PechaKucha thing was kind of therapy session for me. I think I would need more of these sessions to really find the words how to explain what I do, at least to my neighbor or to my mother. And I would like to thank you all for listening to me. And I would like to know what you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexandra, for a fantastic presentation. Very inspiring to see your work every single time. So thank you so much for sharing it in this new format, actually. It was amazing to see your journey. We met many years ago, so it's always nice to see the work you do. Unfortunately, we must quickly move on, but you will have time to talk with Alexandra during the Q&A session. So please, in the meantime, write in your questions to Alexandra in the chat. And to those that join us a little bit late, we'll have a networking session later on, and we also will have a Q&A session. So please write as we go through the event, write in the questions on the chat, and also name who you are sending the question to, if it's Alexandra or any of the other speakers. Now it's time to start with the proper PechaKucha, 20 slides, 20 seconds each, which gives each of our speakers 400 seconds to tell their stories about light and lighting design. Our first speaker is Dario Gustavo Núñez Salazar, architectural lighting designer with over 15 years of international experience and associate member of the IALD. Awarded among the best 40 under 40 at the Lighting Design Award 2017. Dario is currently working as a lighting design leader for Verkis Consulting Engineers in Iceland and is co-editor at Nordic Nightscapes. Dario will tell us about misconceptions, related to lighting design and will give us a few tips and tricks to better communicate what we actually do towards our clients. Welcome, Dario.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for this introduction. I'm going to talk about common reactions that we see when we introduce ourselves as lighting designers, and this is in our immediate professional environment. Other designers, architects, engineers, and stakeholders. So you enter the meeting room, and very often they will think that you are the guy that sells the fixtures, the luminaires. So they will immediately start asking you about prices, costs, even discounts. And then we need to say, oh, sorry, this is not really what I do. I will help you with some cost estimates, but I will not be selling you or supplying you the lights. Oh, I see. So you must be then the electrical engineer. So before we go into lighting details, could you tell us more or less the size of the electrical cabinet that we will need and the overall load for this building? And we say, well, again, this is not really what I do. The electrical engineer will advise you on that. Oh, but you do calculate light, isn't it? You will tell us if we need 5, 6, 7 pieces of luminaires. And we say, sure, that's part of what we do. This is part of the design process, but that's not everything. We do way more than that. Oh, okay. So, oh, I get it. So then you are the installer, the electrician. I'm sorry, I need to apologize. I really wanted an excuse to show this image. I think it's hilarious with the golden section and everything. But the point is that no, we don't install the lights. We design the light. Okay, so then people get a little bit more confused and say, I think there has been a misunderstanding because this project, it's an industrial facility with some offices. We're not doing anything fancy, anything spectacular. I'm not sure if we really need a lighting designer. So most likely this is an unnecessary cost. Like some people say, a waste of money, another consultant trying to burn budget. So then we need to explain the value of our profession. And while doing so, we also do some few mistakes or further misunderstandings. Very often we explain the health benefits of good lighting, which is absolutely true, no question of that. But we are neither doctors. We cannot advise too much into medical things. It is not our background. Others will explain the technological benefits of having a lighting designer, how everything will be connected to the Internet of Things, talk to other installations, everything very smart. But that is not the essence of what we do, again. Another approach will be, let's say, a more artistic approach, right? Explain how light will elevate the project, make it a masterpiece, taking it into another level. And it is true that lighting designers sometimes can do light art and vice versa. Light artists can do lighting design, but these two are not completely the same. We get inspired by light art and learn from it, but our purpose is not to do art. So I guess at this point, you are all also getting a little bit confused and say, well, what is it that you really do? What is lighting design about? To explain lighting design, we need first to understand what light is, the tool that we're working with. And light is energy, as most of us know, but not just one type of energy. It's a range of different radiations, different wavelengths. And we call this range visible light, but that's the tricky thing. Even though we call it visible, we cannot really see light. We see what light touches. It is an intangible tool that we work with. And it is this very complex play of energy that spreads to some space, to some room, and some of it gets reflected, some of it refracted, absorbed, and finally reaches our eyes. And depending on how it does, we create an understanding of our environment. So we create our reality. So our job as lighting designers is to find balance between all aspects that affect light and our perception, and find this equilibrium. There are different ways to illuminate things, but very few, if not just one, feel right. So if we imagine this building in the different ways that it could have been illuminated and taken the approaches that we previously mentioned, what will be the outcome? Another mistake often done with lighting design is to think that it's just exclusive for big buildings. So another mistake, as I was telling, is to think that it's exclusive for a luxury project, a high-end service. But even in very small and very low budget projects with very simple solutions, a lighting designer can make a tremendous difference. Because our goal is to find the most appropriate solution to create the right atmosphere, the right mood, without disrupting the natural character of a site, of a space, of a building. Our goal is to integrate light in the very texture of the overall design, so it feels natural and as it is supposed to be there. So I hope I was able to give you a very short glimpse of what we do. Thank you so much, and look forward to your questions later on.
Thank you so much, Dario. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions to you. We already saw a lot of comments in the chat of people that can relate to what you just presented, and I myself, I relate to trying to explain what I actually do. So it was a great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Please do write your questions for Dario in the chat. I will mention this many times so that you don't forget to write your questions as we move through the event. So our next speaker is Katja Valerie Banon, Managing Director at the Norwegian Association of Lighting, Lyskultur, and recently appointed Executive Board Member of Lighting Europe. Katja has extensive knowledge in marketing and communication strategies. And among other activities, Katja also manages Norsk Lyspris, the Norwegian Lighting Design Award. Today, she will tell us about how to communicate the value of lighting to municipalities. Welcome, Katja.
Thank you. My father was a lighting designer at Norwegian Films. As a child, I earned my pocket money by working as an extra in films, where he was in charge of the lighting design. This sparked my fascination for how light can change any atmosphere, and eventually led me to Lyskultur. My target group for this talk is Norway's 356 municipalities. Their responsibilities are local health and welfare, economy, education, and infrastructure. Norway aims to be inclusive for all within 2025. A sustainable future requires a more hands-on approach. Light pollution is increasing due to global urbanization and electrification. For reducing light pollution, each municipality should have a master plan for lighting for their cities and urban spaces that define lighting principle strategies from the start. We urge the municipality to create safe, inclusive, healthy, environmentally friendly, sustainable, attractive, and vibrant cities and urban areas in the future. Lighting design is a low-hanging fruit and creates added value for all and more livable cities. How can we use lighting design to achieve this? I will present 10 reasons why lighting design should be prioritized at a community level. Understanding the individual factor can help us apply a more holistic design approach. I will start with an example of how lighting design can transform a public area. Here is Maria Torge in Stockholm. We can see that lighting has not been made for human needs and without thinking about light pollution, atmosphere, comfort, or safety. As you can see, most of the lighting goes up into the sky, creating light pollution and bad visibility for pedestrians. Here you see the result after lighting design from Light Bureau. Better color rendering, better visibility, no light pollution, good atmosphere, and inviting for social interaction. You feel safer, and now it is an attractive urban area, both day and night. Here are the 10 reasons for why municipalities should invest in better lighting. I will go through each reason with photos from previous winners of Lyskultur's annual Norwegian Lighting Award. These projects fulfill the criteria of the award and exemplify our 10 reasons for better lighting. Better lighting and higher visibility is related to fewer road accidents. Lighting design has also been used to prevent eye strain, monotony, and unease in tunnels. This is definitely needed here in the world's longest tunnel in Norway, which is almost 20 kilometers long, Lærdalstunnelen. Studies have shown that well-lit urban areas, streets and parks are associated with decreased street crime and increased feeling of safety in pedestrians during night and long dark winters. These areas are more attractive for people to use for recreational purpose and transport, like walking and cycling. Good lighting design creates more dynamic, visually stimulating environment. This improves individual mental health by enhancing mood and satisfaction and by preventing depression and seasonal affective disorder. Easier facial recognition also improves social relationships. Well-directed light and planned light helps us to identify and interact with our environment while preventing accident and increased usability. Visually impaired and senior citizens in particular benefit greatly from improved street lighting at night. By using clever light design, municipality can create visually attractive and versatile outdoor areas which people want to use. This promotes social inclusion and interaction with society, and it improves health, well-being, and social relationships. Lifetime expectancy can increase from 2,000 hours to 100,000 hours when upgrading to the latest technology such as LED. This combined with new lighting control system and product with high quality will reduce the environmental impact. By carefully considering function, illumination, direction, color temperature, and smart control system in lighting design, we can significantly reduce light pollution. Among all, this helps us to protect flora and fauna and preserve biodiversity. Lighting accounts for about 90% of the global electricity consumption. We can reduce that impact by over 90% by using LED light and more efficient control system. Upgrading the lighting system in building is one of the easiest ways to achieve EU's climate goals for 2050. Studies have found out that lighting in school and university, which correspond better with our circadian rhythm, is connected to higher concentration, better memory, and performance. It has also been found to improve social relationships and decrease hyperactivity behavior in school children. Good lighting is highly related to improved productivity, cognitive skills, and performance in workplaces. Health issues such as fatigue, chronic stress, migraine, and eye strain might be prevented, which lower the sick absence rate. These 10 reasons for why municipalities should invest in better lighting align with 11 out of the 17 of the UN sustainability goals. Practically, we can help access to sustainable energy, reduce CO2 emissions, increase good health and well-being, to mention a few. So, in our experience, the best projects are a result of close interdisciplinary collaboration. And in the end, our mantra is right light at the right place at the right time. This is something municipalities should strive for in all their projects. By this, I thank you.
Thank you so much, Katja, for a great presentation. Please do not forget to post your questions in the chat and stay tuned for the networking and live Q&A session. As you already noticed, this is 100% live, so things can happen, but this is also why it's so much fun to see you all and meet you online. Our next speaker is Yari Vuorinen, Finnish experience designer working with the medium of light. Yari's methodology is holistic, focused on bringing out the character and hierarchy of the space through light. He's currently design director and creative lead at Lighting Design Collective in Helsinki and brings a touch of Nordic calm into his work. Yari is a lighting designer, that we know already, but what does his mother think about what he do? Go, Yari, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Nice introduction. Yeah, well, there I am on the right, a lighting designer, talking about myself again, talking about the projects I've done and all of that to a professional audience. That is actually very easy. Today, I'll challenge myself. I'll try to make this small bit more personal. So be patient with me. Let's see what happens. And we've all seen these memes explaining different professions, and lighting design is not exclusive in that sense. We all need to somehow tell what we do. Now, again, the tricky bit here is how do you tell your mom? And that's what I'll try to do today. What does my mother actually think that I do? Well, let's see. Mom, this is for you. That's my mom. Well, she's there sitting a few years back with my firstborn. Her name is May-Britt. She was born in 1946. And lighting design as a profession has really not ever touched her, apart from maybe my existence. But I'll have a look to how she's influenced the way I look at lighting and why I'm a lighting designer, experienced designer. So my approach is that I try to look into the emotional expression of lighting. So I'll try to dissect what I see. So if I see moods, colors, whatever, I try to dissect them, try to understand what creates the detail in those. And from that, I try to derive things into my professional work. Now, how does it relate to my mother? Well, she's enabled a lot of this experience, be it the summer cottage in central Finland, or be it the home in the very dark Helsinki. So there's a lot of things I've got to explore already with my early years with my mother. Now, again, how does light become something from what is emotion and life? Well, to me, it's very obvious. Let's see what actually historically has happened in my life to enable that. And I'll start off by explaining that my mom actually wanted me to dance. So she put me in the spotlight, and I was super, super shy as a kid. I still am. But standing in that spotlight, what happened was actually I could overcome my shyness, at least for that little tap dance bit that I did, because it blocked out everything. You could not see the audience due to that blinding, blaring spotlight. What a wonderful life experience there. The second thing is that she also introduced me to my first love, which was photography. And this is how I get into lighting design. My first love is photography and studying light through that way. This is a photo of suburban Helsinki in Finland somewhere in the late 80s, one of my first photos on a SLR. And I still love that darkness and emptiness of a pitch black frame. And I used that again as an approach to my current work in lighting spaces. So I get to decide what to show or hide in that space. And the tool there is lighting. So it's a tool for me to understand what happens in a space when we add or subtract lighting. And another wonderful life lesson my mom actually taught me, a very simple one, and it's something I tell everyone around me, is just ask the question, why? So that keeps you focused. It makes you able to zoom in out and out on different challenges, whatever they may be. Now, it really doesn't matter what my mom thinks I do. And it really doesn't matter what my kids think that I do, because they don't really care. We all know that. So we do a lot of great stuff as designers and professionals, but again, explaining that to our loved ones might be slightly tricky. And as you've probably already kind of gathered, this is more of an homage to my mother. What has she enabled for me to become a lighting designer? The same things I enable to my kids. I have a profession, I can feed my kids, I can put a roof on their heads, and I can even give them experiences. We love the Mediterranean. That's an image of my kids on a beach in the Mediterranean. So if you remember my summer cottage experience, that's pretty similar. And my mom also gave me 2 languages. I speak Swedish and Finnish, and this kind of horizon line is pretty much the division. I find myself more Finnish speaking these days, but it's still an essential tool for life because it allows for communication. It allows for easier the adaptation of other languages. And another thing, of course, all moms are door openers. And we as lighting designers, we need to be that too. We need to be that old person who actually opens the door for themselves, but also opens door for other people. Back 20 years ago, this really wasn't a profession in Finland. It really wasn't. And when I started out, people opened door for me. So let's make sure we do that. 5% of my current work is creative work. 95% is everything else behind the projects, the communication, the connecting of things, or the actual hardwiring of a computing system, just to enable the experiences, those spaces that we design actually create. And in its simplest form, it's just putting a spotlight somewhere and just admiring that beam of light reflecting from that surface and just creating something very magical. That still happens to me, not on a daily basis, but I'm lucky to get that maybe once or twice a year. That experience from very basic lighting. And as I mentioned, it can be at times very technical. It can be all of the things the previous talkers have mentioned. It's a collection of things. So it's wonderful to then find that basic stuff that still comes from the photography past. Now, those are stuff that I carry with me. One important thing is that we can choose the hat we put on our heads. We can be the engineers, we can do the events, we can do art, we can even do the installation. Good picture, by the way, Dario. But the main question is, how do we add value? And that's something, again, just to ask the questions from ourselves. Why? Now, there I am, having done this since 1994, with a yellow jacket on, doing installation, enabling experiences. But what I've talked about today is how my mother actually has enabled me to do these experiences. So what I actually do is not that relevant. It's just for her to know that she has enabled it. And on today we actually celebrate the Day of Light. And today it's also a good reminder to trust science. I hope science will also find a cure for my mother's Alzheimer someday. This is my talk. I hope you've enjoyed the little personal ride, and let me know if I managed to actually touch something that you find relevant.
Thank you so much, Yari, for this touching presentation. It was amazing to hear you talking, also through your journey with your family, your kids, your mom. I mean, everybody, when you are a lighting designer, everybody's involved in what you do, actually. If you have kids, your kids play with the lights and want some effects and things like that. So it was amazing to see how you've come this far also. Please, questions for Yari, put them in the chat, and we'll see Yari again at the Q&A session and also networking. We continue with now Ute Beseneke, Associate Professor in Lighting Design at the School of Architecture, KTH, in Sweden. She's a design researcher and IALD educator, focusing on the impact of lighting on human perception, behavior, and well-being in spatial environments. Ute's special interest lays in facilitating interdisciplinary collaborations involving mixed method research in design, art, engineering, and science. She'll tell us more about this in her presentation. Welcome, Ute.
Thank you, Isa. And hi, everybody. What I actually do, it's such a fantastic topic, and probably everybody working in lighting shared at some point the experience of getting a blank stare when answering the following question: what work do you do? Or then the follow-up question: what light bulbs should I purchase? But what do I actually do? Well, that changed over the years. And since 2019, I work in academia, between and among students and teachers and researchers, interdisciplinary in architecture, lighting design, and other lighting related fields such as engineering or the cognitive and medical sciences. And to be honest, these days, a lot of time is dedicated to reading, reviewing, writing, filling in spreadsheets, answering email, and of course, Zoom meetings. But while that is what I do in terms of tasks, it's not what I actually do in terms of my work. And since I now work as an educator and researcher, I see my role as helping to inform design through research, mediating between design and research, and providing aspiring lighting designers with background knowledge, such as information on perception, tools, and measurement. But also to support my colleagues and the students when doing practical hands-on experimentation that hopefully will assist them in their path to create wonderful projects, such as these on the KTH campus in autumn last year. And hopefully we can soon restart student trips after the pandemic to experience lighting designs, examples of integrating daylight and electrical light to realize the endless opportunities to create something new, something uplifting and magical using light. And that lighting design goes beyond supporting criteria for functionality and performance. And to me, research and education starts with becoming aware of our surroundings, collecting background knowledge to inform lighting design, gaining a better understanding of how light behaves, how we humans perceive the world, and how we can use light to shape our experience. But not only what impact has on us humans and our own well-being, but also the impact electrical light has on nature and other species in the outdoors, and how we can develop different solutions taking into account all stakeholders. And with that in mind, I research and teach about light, spectrum, and color, and how it shapes our experiences by taking much inspiration from nature, the light humans evolved with. Its many qualities and how we respond to it, this is what I'm curious to better understand. And some students share this curiosity. This, for example, is a student project where the group explored and reinterpreted light, color, and shadow using different tools and technologies for their creative and artistic experimentation and expression. And then there is architectural daylight, electrical light integration. And this is another fascinating topic to explore ways for enabling choices through lighting design of how a space could be used at different times of the day and in different seasons. Now, sometimes to be able to gain a better overall understanding, one needs to focus in on the parts, zooming in and focusing on a very specific area, topic, or characteristic of lighting in isolation and just block out everything else. And for me, sometimes that involved just looking at specific colors and light spectral compositions. And at one point, I got really obsessed with the so-called vacation colors, such as ocean water cyan, for example, or as shown here, sunset amber. And this meant focusing on particular luminous colors, looking at those in a controlled environment to learn about specific compositions in all its aspects and how it compares to another similar one that could be created using different light sources or different paint light interactions. And then learning about light material interactions might actually involve very reduced and saturated setups, changing only one parameter at a time to build evidence and inform future choices for more complex architectural environments. But you might ask, why look at colors when typically we are interested in white shades of light? Well, white light contains luminous color, and LED technology brought about many choices and related challenges. Color is entering the environment everywhere, and developing knowledge about the luminous color palette is one of my main passions, both for aesthetic purposes, but as well to understand lighting aspects impacting health, well-being, and performance. All of these need to be studied in complex spatial environments, such as real-world test beds where different qualities and attributes interact. And I believe that developing research in real-world test beds can also include aspects of playfulness, aspects of distribution of light, interactivity, variability can be implemented to ultimately enable and inspire more sophisticated and holistic design solutions. design solutions that are integrated with the architectural space, that create different layers and experiences of light in space, and where different shapes and types of lighting are included, no matter whether it is a living, working, or recreational environment. So this was a bit about what I do and what I envision to be doing moving forward at KTH's Lighting Design Lab. And of course, there are more nuances, and lighting design research is still in its infancy, but maybe it can help shift and reconstruct our views and realities. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Ute, for this insightful presentation. We look forward to discussing with you light research and education during the Q&A session of this event. In the meantime, please post your questions to Ute here in the chat. Our last but not least speaker is Jesper Ravn, Associate Member of the IALD. After practicing for several years as an architect, Jesper focuses on light and its interaction with architecture. Today, he leads the lighting design work at Gottlieb Paludan Architects, but among other activities, Jesper also co-curates the Copenhagen Light Festival and serves as an external examiner at the Danish Architecture School in Aarhus and Copenhagen. Jesper will talk about rediscovering, using your eyes and seeing light again, all the time and everywhere. Jesper, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Isabel. Disheartened, uninspired, unable to think what's nice, perhaps you should remind yourself to merely use your eyes. It's all out there, it's all so clear. You only need to see it. Whatever light you need to do, it's there for you to repeat it. Completely carried away, emotions running astray, joy sparkling in your mind as you stumble across a ray of light, dramatic or humble, in the grandest of clouds on a beautiful day, or playing in the waves' gentle mumble. But all right, I do know how you lose connection to the matters of light, when all that matters are corrections and minutes of meeting, and you feel you're in tatters and might want to fight it off by quitting or getting the hell out. For nothing is really about what you actually do, so leave it and look out for light to be found all around. To be the lighting designer in Wonderland, Imagine Land, Discover Land, a witness to odd delights that hang in a curtain, a sunspot in something or other, and wait to be seen, to be used, for someone to bother and take it further into beyond the land, where what you see is what you think. Does it really look like this, purple and pink? Are your eyes to be trusted? Which truth is true? Which reality is real? Who decides? Who? When something like this is what you actually do, and everything is in the eye of the beholder. Behold the beam of power, the finger of God, the ray of light. Such is the way of light in the cloud. Scotty the beamer, climb the ladder of light. Push down the piston, press down the fist of light, hard-edged, straight, sharp, clear-cut. Sharp sap, stinging pin, zig-zag, cutting ray, power shower, show of power, zipping laser cutter, red hot, red ray, laser shot, fanning out, hot rod, sticks of fire, hot to the touch. Reach out to the rugged ruptures in the fractures and structures, the fissures disclosed by the grazing, the amazing materials and structures. Read it, your vision reaches the rough surfaces and touches them as the light washes them. Wishy-washy, whooshing nothings, seamless grayness, cotton wool experiences, fading planes of endless edgelessness. Such is the diffuseness of the fog, the losses of anything to touch, a world of whiteness and uniform brightness. White, you see, might be yellow and cyan. Try and see it as white if you can. White is there for a great discovery. Nothing that is white is really white, you see. What you think, white you think, might be purple, yellow, blue, and pink. A world is found in a drop from a lake. Discoveries are made by mistake. The light you think is just what you need is at your feet. You just need to see it. Discover that and just forget that perhaps it's out of scale. Sometimes the bigger picture is revealed in a small detail. So that's where to look carefully, check out the details, follow the edges, trace the rays on the way down and up again. Wonder what goes on. How does that happen over there? Can you think of why that color comes through? Why light is shining here, reflected there, absent here? Take a close look, reflect on it for a bit. A world reflected in a ball of gold, a mirror ball, revealing a complete horizon, a specular reflector letting you look around and beyond, a bender of light, sending it round corners, right down to your eye, a vision of what is seen in some other place, a great transmitter of light and shadow. Stick to me, shadow, while I'm in the light. Later, I'll walk through the shade and pick you up once I emerge. Stay close, stay connected until I switch off. Tell my story, show my silhouette, carbon copied, cut out in cardboard, shadow cast, but never cast away, always close. The night is when the light shines brightest and invites the eye to pull you into a hole that's punched in the dark, a spot of light, a cone of presence, somewhere to be inside with the darkness all outside, the eyes looking at you from the dark. Get it? You got it. Go get it. Get the light right. All is right when the brightness is. The rightness of the light is a blessing. You know you are messing with the right thing when you hit the beat of the light, the fun of the night. You design the joy and the fun and the flame. You've come back to the point where you started, where you wanted to be and liked to be. Forward from here. Spell it out. Make it clear. The message is there to be read. Power up the neon. Write the story in flaming letters. Light the story and tell it better. Let it be seen. Let it be shown. Let it be true what you actually do and for whom. Who is on your mind? Who's in the limelight? Who is in the beam? Who gets shown on? Whose eyes rest upon whom? Who do you think of? Who are these people? Why are these people? Who are they? Those who will actually see what you actually do. Now, who would have thought? Nobody expected. Someone made this. You would never have guessed. Someone imagined. Someone has seen in their mind's eye. A way, a use. Someone used their eyes. Someone made use of it and saw another side of light. Enlightened, inspired, once more able to see what's nice. Your master tool right in your face. You can always trust your eyes. What you actually do is made for the eyes. Let everybody see it. What you actually do, what you actually see, you can do it, see it, and be it.
Amazing presentation, Jesper. Pure light poetry, can we say? Thank you so much for this brilliant talk. Fantastic. We have to move on, but first of all, we want to thank you all our fantastic speakers for their enlightening presentations. It's now time to move on to the breakout rooms for the networking session. You will have around 15 minutes to introduce yourself in your breakout room and network. So you can keep discussing what do you think, the presentations from today, but also how you explain what you actually do. So if you've never been on a breakout room session before, please don't panic and don't leave. You just have to press join when the breakout room window appears on your screen, and then you will be sent into a breakout room that will have around 9 to 10 people each. And after 15 minutes, you will be pulled back into the main room again for the live Q&A session. So see you again soon in about 15 minutes and enjoy the networking session. And in the meantime, while you wait to be assigned to your breakout room, if you have any questions to our sponsor, Lutron, you can reach out to Matt Thomas via the chat function as well. And yeah, please enjoy the networking session and discussing all these fantastic presentations. Now it's closed. All the breakout rooms are closed. I think we dropped some attendees in between the breakout rooms and the Q&A session. But we have a lot of interesting questions for our speakers. So welcome back. And I hope you really enjoy discussing about light and inspiration entering these breakout rooms.
Definitely. Sure. Thank you very much.
Now it's time for the Q&A, and we will stop sharing the screen. The first question that we have is actually addressed to Alexandra. And it doesn't say who sent the question actually, but the question is, how do you see lighting as a way for children to connect and play? And how do you approach it? How do you involve kids in your projects? I mean, how you start talking about light, how you get these amazing sentences out of them.
It's always interesting to meet children, and they have fun with almost everything, especially with light. Light is so fun to play with. Especially that project that I mentioned in my presentation, My Light Future, it's dedicated to children, and I need children to get these fantastic visions and answers and ideas. I collaborate mostly with schools. I never do questioning myself. It needs to be a very comfortable situation that kids can come out with the most relaxed thoughts and ideas. So it's a nice collaboration with schools and their teachers, and they do interviews among themselves, and then I receive the answers in a format that I need. And mostly it's a wonderful collection of thoughts I have, and then I have to pick very carefully some for the installation.
How do they react to the final art piece? I mean, when they see their words?
Oh, they are always very, very proud. Whatever, the whole process is very interesting for children. They enjoy from the beginning to the end. But the grown-ups understand it more on the end when they face this place, these signs in the city. But then what is interesting, we usually don't say that these light phrases are coming from the kids, from the small kids, 4-6 years old. Because if you don't know that those thoughts come from the little kid, then you might understand it as a very, very important thought and very philosophical vision of life.
Thank you, Alexandra, for that answer. We have to move to the next question. There is addressed to Dario. The question is, what do you think is your most important role as a lighting designer, and how do you approach creating the right mood without disrupting the natural character of the space? That's a big question.
Yeah, it's a big one. My most important role, well, I would say a part of lighting designer that we try to explain now, it's of course educator in a way, because we're constantly trying to educate people around us what we do, so we can make our job well. So that's probably that. But as a lighting designer, I will say that it's to reveal the environment in a way that is best for everyone. To do it harmonically and without disrupting, as we said, I think it's always trying to find the clues and make a strategy rather than a concept, is finding the clues in the environment itself. As we discussed the difference between art and design, we are a little bit more bounded into the story that the environment, the architecture that someone else is already saying, and we need to be coherent with that, be how could I say, truthful, and try to reveal it in the best possible way.
I will send this question also to Katja. You had an amazing presentation. It was like a very strong package for why municipalities should invest in lighting. But how do you actually, what do you think is most effective to convince them that they should actually invest in good lighting? Is it through dialogue and through education, or actually through proposals, concrete proposals?
Yes, how we do it in Lyskultur is that we are working a lot with the Norwegian Light Award. And we have, as one of the categories there, we have actually master plans. And when they get nominated or shown, we have very much like good media coverage on this, and we have interviews. So we make awareness by good examples. That's how we try to communicate with the municipality. And since we are an interest organization, we also have a lot of municipalities that are members in Lyskultur because they are working in road light and lighting. So they will call us and ask for help, and then we will promote our members, how they work and why they should invest. And we also had a pilot project where we launched a competition of making a master plan for the municipality, which was very good because usually municipality have little money to invest. They get some money and then they have little money to not invest, but to build, and then somebody else has to maintain. So it's three different parts that you have to talk to. And so you have to, what is really effective is that when you talk about surplus value, how can they actually save money in making, because it's not about more light, it's about maybe less light. And that's why we always say right light at the right time.
Yeah,
so
less energy costs.
Less energy, and this is also, of course, a very big issue to talk about the energy, but we don't want to talk too much about that because lighting is so much more than just the energy saving. So we don't focus, we say, yeah, 90% you can save, but what's your really goals here is to improve the life for the citizens. And since all of us in the Nordic, we spend almost all winter inside, 90%, and it's very healthy for us to get out. So the city has some goals for their cities. I know Denmark has a really set goal, or 15% more outdoor life, or there's some, I didn't remember exact the number, but they want us to be outside and to do skiing in the dark, like we put on light slalom. Yeah. Everything is made for doing activities in the dark, because here at 3 o'clock it's dark. So we need light, and light must be made good for us to be able to use it, not to just, it's so much horrible outdoor lighting.
Yeah, I agree. What do you say, Jesper? I mean, you work with architecture. I mean, you work in an architecture firm, but you also co-curate Copenhagen Festival, Light Festival. So where you actually get to give a taste to people of what actually night spaces at night can become. So what is your reflection on this?
It's absolutely fantastic to be working on the Light Festival. It has very little to do with what I actually do. You could say it's so different. Light art and architecture lighting, which is my everyday thing, are very, very far from each other. But of course, you could say the light art creates an experience which is very direct. Everyone really knows when they're looking at light art, and they're very perceptive. And you can bring that into people's everyday life and say, well, keep your eyes open and look at light always and think about it. I curate, but I also do VIP tours and talks during the festival, and that's one of my big points, that just look around, and between the works of art there's just ordinary street light or whatever light. Look at it and think about it, and you'll be surprised how many people actually never saw light before we started talking about it.
And it's often actually people, after they know a lighting designer or a light artist, that they start thinking about lighting. Well, like, absolutely, yeah, now yes. I see with your eyes. I mean, I pay more attention to my surrounding.
Yes,
which is part of the work that we do as well, the non-visible work. We have a question for Yari. It says, what do you think is your most important role as a lighting designer? You mentioned that the creative process is only 5% of your work. Is it okay that it's only 5%, or would you like there to be a different distribution?
That's a brilliant question, and kind of relates to what the other talkers were just talking about, because I don't think I need to be a creative designer at all. What we as creatives and lighting designers are horribly bad at is talking about what is the actual value we produce. I mean, and again, I agree with the previous talkers. It's wonderful to have a, good environment, all of those good things, but we also need to remember that some of us designers do not work with municipalities only. We work with like high-class companies who are looking at a completely different Excel sheet than lighting designers. So we're very often focused on talking about energy savings. It's a wonderful topic. It's not a bad one at all. We are, in my opinion, bad at aligning it against what others actually see, what brand managers see, where the real money lies at. I don't have an answer to that yet, but I think I will, hopefully, someday in the future. And me personally trying to that answer has actually made me study an MBA. I'm currently studying for an MBA just to understand that kind of world a bit better. Because I think all of us designers here have faced that problem, that we do a wonderful design. We feel that it's answering all the challenges, all the problems a client has, and then we just get back an answer saying you need to make it more cheaper.
Yeah.
Which kind of tells to me that then we're not answering the right challenges, because if you would be answering the right challenges, the client would say, okay, here's 1 million more, please do it better. But that's my answer. Answer is short and sweet. We need to produce value.
And I think that also creates, I personally face a lot of frustration with those type of cycles. That you invest so much, you can do so much better, but at the end, the one that is actually buying what you're doing doesn't understand anything of it. Yes. And it's so you hit your head on the wall all the time. And this is like one of the ideas why we try to make this event, to talk more about the importance of lighting, what we actually do as a profession. We have one final question. Unfortunately, we're right on time, but we need to, we'll be like maybe 5 minutes over time. And it's for Ute. The question says, how do you make architects pay more attention to lighting? And how you convince them to actually, or bring in a lighting designer, I would say, into their projects?
Well, that's a really good question. And sort of from the education point of view, I now educate lighting design in the architecture school. And so one of the answers is probably, starting at the architecture student level, that hopefully when they become architects, they actually know that lighting is important and that they're interested in working with lighting designers. So that's sort of one of the goals of what we are doing with having architectural studios, for example, that are taught by the lighting division staff and educators. And I think everybody sort of knows that when people are not exposed to light, they just take lighting for granted. And I did this as well, because my background is also architecture. And so I always encourage everybody to observing light and the role it plays in their life, but also in their creation of spaces. And I do believe, that sort of sounds very idealistic maybe, but especially when talking to architects, once you initiate sort of curiosity and pointing out that architectural space is actually shaped by light and color, and that we would not experience our surroundings fully without light, and that actually controlling and designing light directly impacts what's visible and what's not visible, and how people direct their intention and where they are drawn to. I think then most architects become curious. It's then up to them if they sort of become lighting designers or hire one, hopefully.
What's the hit rate, if we can ask you? Like, how many of them actually get it in a way, or does it need more convincing? I think that one part is actually daylight, and daylighting is very connected to the architecture itself. But there is a lot of architects that, as you say, take electric lighting for granted. Exactly.
Well, I think the daylight out too, right? So the course that we are actually teaching in the architecture school to the architects is daylighting, because that relates directly to their creation and design of spaces and buildings, right? Even urban planning, right? All that relates to daylight and openings and also the difference between, well, what does daylight mean in different areas of the world, whether we are in Stockholm, Sweden, or in the US or in Italy, that's sort of very different. And so the architecture is not universal, but it does need to change with the location where it's being built. And then the electrical light and daylight electrical light integration, I think that's something that comes later, right? And that's something that sort of the lighting design students are mostly involved. But a lot of the other speakers already mentioned that, and you also mentioned that. I think we all sort of are still educators. And I think in the industry, it really becomes about the value proposition. But with architects, I sort of always feel you have to meet them where they are interested. It's sort of like, how does lighting help their work and their designs and their spaces and creations to the best they are, and why is that relevant?
Speak their language, basically. Yeah, that's a great tip. Unfortunately, we're a little bit over the time, but we have a few final slides to share with you. We would like to, before actually we say farewell to all of you, we would like to thank Lutron, the sponsor of this event, as well as our media partners. And thank once again, our fantastic speakers. Virtual applause to all of them. It was great to have you here in this event. And we would also like to thank all the organizers that are behind the screens, that have put all this together, coordinated, and their names, I mean, they basically made this whole event possible. Anna, Chiara, who is unfortunately not here with us today, Sabine, Simon, and Tina, associate member of the IALD, and Melanie from IALD Europe. And we would like to invite all the independent lighting designers to join also IALD and be part of this bright family. So, and to each one of you on the other side of that screen, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you all very soon again, hopefully not via screen, but in real life. Bye-bye.